kothi cia engineering, applied sciences, hospitality na tourism na ingĩ nyingĩ. Tuthomithagia tukihuthira curriculum ĩrĩa njerũ ya CBET na igeranio iheanagwo nĩ NNP hamwe na CDACC. Arutwo nĩ megũteithĩrĩrio kũhoya mbeca cia thukuru kuma kwa HELB kũgerera mũbango mwerũ wa thirikari wa HEF. Kwĩyandĩkithia wĩkinyi wabici ya registrar kana ũcerere www.thenyeripoly.ac.ke.
Mukira ngeithi mwiroreri wa GTN TV ne ngatho cia mwanya muno ni undu wa kunyitanira na ithui hwaini wa muthi wa muthia wa mwaka uyu wa 2023 aturehoka muthenya uyu ni ugutwarithitie o wega ni ndoka nigetha ngutware metha-ini itu ya mohoro nigetha tukuihurire uria maundu matinda makihanika thini wa matura maitu matauni ona bururi handu waruma ni njitagwo Njeri wa Mwangi ngakwihoya witikire kunyitanira nani gutamburukiria maria me metha-ini itu na tukiambiriria ni ati mutongoria wa bururi William Ruto ni atanyitwo kwariria bururi ndagika o yothe kuma hindi ino na akwariria kuma thingira-ini munini wa iregi wa Naikuru na kuringana na ndumiriri kuma thingira wa iregi president atanyitwo kwariria maria thirikari yake itanyite gukinyaniria mwaka turorete wa 2024.
Basi tubaki tumesimama tukimkaribisha Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Daktari William Samoei Ruto. Feel free to welcome him with a clap. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for hosting us here this evening. Your Excellency, the First Lady. Dinner is now going to be served. We'll enjoy our dinner this evening. We'll start off with some background music.
Tugethi na mbere ni ati ndumiriri-ini yake akiendithiria a Kenya mwaka mwega wa 2024 mutongoria wa kiama kia Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka nyoreti ya Kenya gukorwo na kirigiriro mwaka-ini uyu turorete ona thengia wa moritu ma kwambatira gwa thogora wa muturire. Oho Kalonzo ni akomithitie ciiko cia ungumania amwe na ikuo iria cironekanire mwaka uyu andu magitetera ihoto ciao.
Fellow Kenyans, as we bid farewell to 2023, a year that has been both challenging and at times overwhelming, because we saw loss of lives of Kenyans who were exercising their democratic rights to demonstrate, to picket. Overwhelming. They were overwhelmed to their graves. But the year has also seen the El Nino phenomenon visited on us again. The elements could not take orders from those in authority because they proclaimed there will be no El Nino. And in fact, even the disbursement of the funds to the counties, they seem to prevaricate, they seem to be confused. As we welcome 2024, I wish fellow Kenyans God's own blessings. Whether we are Christians, Muslims, Hindus, or Kenyans, wherever you are, please keep hope alive. We have only one nation, our motherland, Kenya. Let's work hard to disabuse the country of wrong policies and greed and corruption and hold together, as it were. Happy New Year, God's blessings. A blessed year.
Na rĩu tukimurika riboti ya kĩhani atĩ andũ 7 nĩ makuire rũcinĩ rwa gũkĩa ũmũthĩ mũtino-inĩ wa barabara ya Eldoret gũthiĩ Naikuru na ũrĩa ũkuruhanirie matatũ na turera. Na kũringana na arĩa meyoneire mũtino ũcio makiuga atĩ turera ĩyo ĩgũmĩirwo nĩ thĩna wa bureki na gũte mwerekera kũrĩa ĩcokire kũringa matatũ ĩrĩa ĩkũrũgamĩte mũkĩra-inĩ wa barabara. Andũ 12 marathiĩ na mbere na kwamũkĩra ũrigiti thibitarĩ-inĩ mũnene wa Naikuru.
Ajali ya leo haingetokelezea kwa sababu hii gari ilifail brake huko juu na ikakuja ikiwasha mataa, imefail brakes. Imekuja mpaka hapa roadblock, polisi wenye wako hapa wamesimamisha matatu. Nimepoteza hata mtu wangu mimi. That is why I'm very bitter. Naomba Kindiki mahali huko, please. Ulisema roadblock, hakuna. Hii roadblock ni emergency gani every day?
Sasa hii kitu imefanyika jameni. Hii ni huzuni. Wamama wametoka wakienda soko. Hii gari ilikuwa imebeba wanabiashara, wanaenda kuchukua mboga zao wakuje wauze. Mama mboga sasa hii amekufa. Tutasaidiwa aje? Watoto wao walikuwa wanawategea nyumbani. Sasa hii wamebaki mayatima.
Ajali ambayo imetokea wakati tunafunga mwaka ni ajali ambayo inatuletea maafa sisi watu wa Nakuru West na Kenya nzima. Wakati ambako serikali inajitolea na inasema ya kwamba tujishunge kwa barabara.
One of those were fatalities that occurred at the site, and the bodies have been transferred to our morgue. So 12 of them came to our casualty for medical attention. Most of our victims had either fractures or head injuries. So 3 of those have been sent to the ward for further surgical and orthopedic.
Rĩrĩa tugitigana na riboti iyo twambe tucokere riboti iria twambĩrĩirie nayo ya riboti kana ndũmĩrĩri ya president kũrĩ bũrũri kũrĩa atanyĩtwo gũkorwo akĩarĩria bũrũri maũndũ megiĩ mĩtaratara na maũndũ marĩa thirikari yake ĩbangĩte gwĩka mwaka ũyũ turorete wa 2024. Twakwamba gũthiĩ ĩmwe kwa ĩmwe nginya thingira-inĩ mũnini wa Iregi kũrĩa kaunti ya Naikuru tuthikĩrĩrie ndũmĩrĩri yake.
All these factors slowed down our economic performance, resulting in increased commodity prices. Fertilizers and cereals experienced significant price hikes, contributing to the rise in food prices and the overall cost of living. To manage, moderate, and overcome these difficulties, this year became the year of a complete paradigm shift in the handling of our national issues. We collectively summoned the courage to make bold, decisive, far-reaching, and long-term decisions to once and for all put our country on the path to attaining its full socio-economic potential. The choices we've made over the last year were neither easy, populist, nor convenient. They were, however, meaningful, appropriate, and necessary. In the short term, painful, but in the long term, gainful. 2023 is the year we decided to stop wastage and extravagance, instead opting to live within our means. We decided to cut expenditure by up to 400 billion shillings so as to reduce our borrowing. We decided to enhance our tax revenues by Kenya shillings 600 billion to fund our programs and development so as to safeguard our sovereignty and independence. Ladies and gentlemen, we certainly cannot be independent if we are enslaved by monumental debt, as has been the case. We take pride in the strides we've made as a nation. We have triumphed over the threat of economic stagnation and are now in secure space with regard to our sovereign debt obligations. Inflation has reduced to 6.8%, and our GDP is growing at a rate of 5.4%, placing Kenya as the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. In 2023, we decided to get rid of consumption subsidies that not only drove our nation into deeper financial distress, but were also unsustainable, opaque, and only benefited middlemen at the expense of those who truly deserved support. Instead, we deliberately redirected our focus to support production through incentives in our crops, livestock, and fisheries programs. Today, with the blessing of good weather, thanks to God, these interventions have enabled us to increase our food productivity by 40% at a fraction of the previous cost. Working with farmers, our foremost patriots, we shall double our efforts in 2024 until we reduce our Kenya shillings 500 billion food import bill to zero and rid our country of the shame of hunger. In 2023, we decided that growing our economy, as has been the case in the past, was not enough. Change was an inevitable imperative. As such, we rolled out an economic growth model intentionally designed to be inclusive, deliberately expanding opportunities and creating jobs. Millions of jobs, all types of jobs, construction jobs, technical jobs, digital jobs, as well as entrepreneurial opportunities, both locally and abroad. Our housing program, for example, not only provides decent home ownership for millions, including some slum dwellers who now live in squalor, but it also aims to reverse agricultural land fragmentation and has already created 120,000 jobs with plans to employ an even greater multiple of people next year. For the first time, my Mama Mboga and Boda Boda friends will now have a chance to own a home in our Kenya shillings 4,000 a month, 3% interest rate tenant purchase scheme. That will be the case for other Kenyans on our 6% affordable housing and 9% market housing program. All these housing programs will be at a single-digit interest rates, which is half the current rates. Ladies and gentlemen, our digital superhighway infrastructure, with 22,000 computers being supplied, is already creating thousands of jobs in our technical and vocational education and training institutions. Even as we roll out our ICT hubs in every ward and every constituency in Kenya. Our international jobs program is well on course, having negotiated many bilateral labor agreements to open up opportunities for employment for Kenyans globally. Our collective efforts have not only rescued us from economic paralysis, but propelled us towards a brighter future. We navigated complex debt situations, accelerated economic progress, and invested significantly in our human capital. Recognizing the pivotal role of education, we increased allocation to the education sector by Kenya shillings 127 billion, which enabled us enhanced capitation for our learners, bringing us closer to the dream of universal education from ECD to the tertiary level. We also employed 56,000 teachers to improve access to quality education throughout Kenya. We have equally made immense progress in promoting financial inclusion and dignity of Kenyans at the lower economic echelons. The Hustler Fund and the NSSF new contribution model exemplify our dedication to inclusive growth, financial well-being, and social security for all Kenyans. We have made affordable credit available to millions of Kenyans who for years were alienated and underserved by financial institutions. The Hustler Fund has disbursed over Kenya's shillings 42 billion to Kenyans in just 1 year, making it the largest financial inclusion program in Kenya. And most importantly, over 7 million Kenyans are now regular customers, transacting and doing business, freed from the bondage of shylocks and predatory lenders. Kenyans who would otherwise not make it beyond the watchman at the financial institution now access close to 100 million shillings from the Hustler Fund every single day. We shall continue to improve and expand the range of products offered under this revolutionary intervention. Similarly, our universal health coverage program has set in motion a transformative approach to health delivery. With 100,000 community health promoters actively contributing to the betterment of our nation's health, we are witnessing the tangible impact of our dedication to the well-being of people. In the new year, we continue our health transformation at the secondary and tertiary health levels, emphasizing the need for a fair contribution system for social health insurance, as the previous setup disproportionately burdened and alienated low-income earners from accessing health care. For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, every Kenyan, without exception, will have health insurance, and all Kenyans will access treatment, including for notorious chronic conditions like cancer, hypertension, and diabetes, without discrimination. These are only brief highlights of the work done and progress made this year. I acknowledge we do not have a strong history of commitment to positive transformation or a culture of consistent promise-keeping in our political leadership. This may explain why many anticipated that this administration would abandon the commitments we made under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It is in this context, for example, that I understand the invitation by some for us not to honor our commitment on account that they are either too onerous or simply unattainable. For the record, I want to tell them, we are breaking new ground and charting a new political culture for Kenya. Instead of excuses to abandon our nation's transformation, I invite the skeptics, opponents, and the indifferent to change their perspective and embrace our new paradigm shift to pursue inclusive growth with a sense of urgency, where leaders say what they mean and mean what they say. Yet, as we celebrate all the achievements made so far, a number of our policies, programs, and other strategic interventions aimed at delivering necessary and urgent interventions of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda have been delayed, obstructed, and hampered by various challenges, including persistent litigation. There is nothing wrong with challenging policy and holding government to account. And in fact, the national interest is best safeguarded in an environment defined by the competition of progressive ideas, where a good proposal gives way to a better one. We all have a duty to make sure that the best ideas always prevail in enhancing the well-being of the people and making this nation prosperous and powerful. That is what our democracy exists to achieve. Having said this, you will agree with me that there is something fundamentally wrong with opposition without any viable alternative, whose only purpose is division, conflict, and anarchy. There is something wrong with litigation sponsored by hostage-taking vested interests with the sole aim to delay, derail, and sabotage the delivery of public programs and defeat public interest. Time and time again, Kenyans have clearly and manifestly demonstrated their devotion to pursuing opportunities for progress by voting for progressive policies, as they did in the last election. Kenyans are ready to propel their nation forward to greatness. What has held them back is a leadership invested in the status quo, which excludes the majority to benefit only a few. A politics comfortable with keeping millions in want and indignity to preserve the illegitimate privileges of a few, and a resultant institutional system in which the disenfranchisement of ordinary people is the yardstick of public policy. This should and must change. A new paradigm, my dear Kenyans, must be negotiated. There is an inevitable clash of ideologies at the moment that go beyond a mere conflict over choices. It extends to a disagreement between us as to who between the few who wield power in the executive, legislature, and in the judiciary, and everyone else without distinction, who are the legitimate targets and beneficiaries of public policy. We are at the moment of reflection that calls us to revisit the first principles of our civil and political understanding, reevaluate the terms of our social contract, and place Kenyans, the ones we sometimes call ordinary, at the center of all national discourse. As we do this, we must appreciate one indisputable fact. Freedom is our lifeblood and identity. We are a society defined by opportunity, founded on free enterprise and democracy, where competition and merit are underpinned by compassion, inclusivity, and a strong sense of collective interest. Public policy must therefore respect, uphold, and promote this fundamental character, enhancing our aspirations by ensuring that everyone, and I repeat, everyone must be seen and heard, and that no one, and I repeat again, no one is left behind. For us to remain a viable nation-building project, every Kenyan must be represented at the decision-making table. The public interest is safeguarded by our constitutional dispensation, providing for the implementation of state policy for the benefit of all citizens, not some citizens. This includes the implementation of social and economic rights, a progressive economy creating jobs and wealth, fighting corruption, controlling wastage, supporting public institutions, and protecting freedom and the rule of law. This perspective radically increases the number of possible winners and dramatically diminishes likely losers. Yet, every new way of doing things can threaten the privileges of a dominant minority and alienate the beneficiaries of an unjust system. Whenever this happens, ladies and gentlemen, their associates can attempt to hijack national institutions, turning them into anti-people weapons for a select privileged few and saboteurs of inclusive transformation for the majority. We are, unfortunately, at such a moment in our national history. The question is, how do we proceed from this point? The people of Kenya have made great sacrifices to immensely facilitate us, their leaders, and all public servants, for us to do the very best that we can in making this country work for everyone and in making sure that our institutions protect and increase opportunities for wealth and employment for all. The people of Kenya have also invested in providing us, their leaders, in all arms of government with generous welfare and other benefits, including medical and housing benefits that they can only dream of, in the expectation that we shall in turn safeguard their opportunities to access either commensurate, if not similar, benefits. We must recognize, ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary privilege that has been bestowed on us to serve this nation as members of the cabinet, the civil society, the security services, members of parliament, county governments, the judiciary, or in the commissions and independent offices. Accordingly, we are under solemn obligation to dedicate all our time, energy, and abilities to the advancement of the people's aspirations and the improvement of their well-being. In other words, the very best of our professional and moral and intellectual capabilities must be summoned in the service of the nation. And as trustees of the people, we are duty-bound to exercise public authority and deploy public resources to the best of our judgment and discretion with the public interest in our mind. Our understanding of public interest must be aligned with the imperative to enhance the social contract and be connected with the urgent need to increase opportunities and transform the landscape of possibilities. Let us therefore reflect very deeply about the ways in which we act and speak in the name of the Constitution. We must ensure that institutional independence does not mutate into impunity and avoidance of accountability. We must be cautious lest our professed pursuit of constitutionalism and obedience to the law turns into an empty ritual and hollow vanity for the majority of citizens. We must take abundant care that our aim to protecting or advancing the people's rights does not deny them legitimate opportunities or make a mockery of their struggles and their aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when a public servant enjoying a house mortgage at 3% interest makes a decision to frustrate the housing program, robbing millions of young people employment prospects and denying millions of Kenyans the chance to own a home like them. This is also the case when a public officer who benefits from unlimited medical insurance invokes the law to derail the universal health care delivery, denying millions of vulnerable Kenyans a health cover, just like the one they have. It is also the case when a politician neglects the boundaries of democratic competition, that opposing policy, government policy for that matter, does not permit undermining the nation or sabotaging the national interest or the welfare of the people. In conclusion, the last general elections were a watershed moment for our nation. We finally came of age and set a new record, confirming to all and sundry that Kenya is a robust democracy. We turned over a new leaf, writing a fresh chapter in the Kenyan narrative. The era of ethnicity and ethnic political mobilization was well behind us. The anarchy of election violence was firmly relegated to the past. And more importantly, the people, not the system, had the final say. This new narrative of a new Kenya is what we have built upon for the past 1 year. We have established a new profile for Kenya, providing regional and global leadership, highlighted by hosting the first ever Africa Climate Summit. Nairobi is recognized now as the best city to visit in 2024 by the US-based travel agency Lonely Planet. And Kenya stands as the third highest recipient of remittances according to World Bank. Accordingly, our country holds the third position as a globally attractive destination for foreign direct investment in 2024. Kenya has also achieved the status of the best adventure tourism destination in Africa and ranks 10th globally. With our newly crafted global positioning as the home of humankind and a visa-free regime, we are poised to double our tourist arrivals, expand opportunities for thousands of hospitality facilities, and create millions of jobs. This represents the new branding, the new profile, the new narrative to propel the nation we all love to the next level. I urge all Kenyans, especially leaders, to build on the Kenya that celebrates diversity and not ethnic bigotry. A Kenya free of anarchy and violence, and a nation not founded on negativity, but a new positive narrative that is gaining momentum globally. It is important for us to remind one another of what really is at stake. We have come some encouraging way amid enormous challenges and significant difficulties. Our path will be easier, our journey will be faster, and our progress smoother if we all remember that the people of Kenya have interests that dictate our job descriptions and form the terms of our employment. Let us remember this always, and remember that with the new year comes our opportunity to do much more and much better. And that is why I wish every Kenyan, irrespective of their status, irrespective of their station, irrespective of where they live, a blessed, progressive, and successful 2024. Na nitarudia niseme kwa Wakenya wote, mahali popote mlipo, mwaka wa 2024 ni mwaka wa baraka. Mungu ametupatia taifa, ametupatia nchi yenye baraka nyingi, ametupatia mambo mengi. Kenya leo imepata heshima duniani kote. Kenya leo inatambulika. Ni jukumu letu kujenga taifa letu. Good people, we have a great country. It is our responsibility to make it greater. And we have a moment in history to do just that. And I'm asking all of us leaders, all of us Kenyans, to work together to move our country, the country we all love, to the next level. Thank you. I again wish each and every one of you a great year ahead, as I ask the people of Nakuru who lost some family members today, that we ask God to empathize with you as we empathize with you, that God is going to give the grace to the families that lost their loved ones today in Nakuru County, and those that did in Njeri and a few other areas during this season. We wish them God's grace, and that God will comfort them and give them safe passage, even as we celebrate the new year. We stand with the families who have lost their loved ones. I want to say to all of us, asanteni sana. I know we will be here for a while as we wait for midnight. Welcome to this celebration, and my very best wishes in 2024. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.
Tumpongeze rais kwa makofi tena. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais kwa
Mwiroreri iyo ni ndumiriri ya president kana mutongoria wa bururi kuma kuria thingira wa iregi wa Naikuru kuria akorwo akiaririria mamwe ma maundu maria thirikari yake koretwo igika, agakorwo agitetera mubango wa waki wa nyumba cia raithi uria augite ati ni ukoretwo ukitura mieke ya mawira makiria ma ngiri kana makiria ma ngiri 120 akorwo agitugiria cukuru cia kothi cia moko kuria ugite ati Kenya ni makorwo makigunika na mawira guku bururi-ini ona nja wa bururi. President oho ni akorwo akiuga ati thirikari yake ni ikoretwo ikirenga thogora wa guthie na nja na ciringi bilioni 400, na kuria akoretwo akiuga ati uguo kana ikinya riu ni ria gutigirira ati thirikari ni yanyihanyihia ngombo ciayo. Na tugithii na mbere na mohoro maitu ni ati ni gwatinda wagagu tauni-ini ya Njeri na matura maria marigiceirie thutha wa borithi gutabania mungururio na kunyita andu aria marekuirwo ukorwo magwikinyitie mucemanio-ini uria umotongorio ni muteti Maina Njenga mwena wa Kabiro-ini, na uria wiriga gukanjwo ni kamanda wa borithi wa guku Njeri Pius Murugu. Borithi matinda makihura miriungo icingirire-ini ciothe cia kaunti ya Njeri, na maya maroka oriri mutongoria wa bururi kana munini wa mutongoria wa bururi Rigathi Gachagua arikitie kuruta mukana wa gucokereria kwa gikundi gikirire mukana kia mungiki. Mutongoria wa mung'ethaniro Raila Odinga ni ugite mirurungano ya gucokereria mwaka turorete kuna thogora wa muturire na uthiete na mbere na kuhinyiriria a Kenya. Odinga akiaria ari mwena wa iria ria Victoria hindi ya mashindano ma o mwaka ma tutaru augite watho wa kigina wa mwaka wa 2023-2024 niguo tumite kana niguo urahinyiriria a Kenya riu akiandikithia watho uyu gukanjwo akiuga kwaga uguo a Kenya matigukorwo na wiki o tiga gucokereria mirurungano.
Na tunaingia kwa mwaka mpya tukijua ya kwamba hali ya uchumi ni mbaya, hali ya uchumi ni ovyo, hali ya uchumi inanyanyasa wananchi, bei ya bidhaa zimeenda juu. Kwa hivyo sisi tunamwambia wale wako Nairobi wanajigamba ya kwamba wako katika serikali kuu, kama kweli nyinyi ndio mmechukua serikali, mungetangaza ya kwamba ile finance bill imetolewa na bei za bidhaa zimekuja chini.
Tunasema mwaka mpya hii sheria ya kodi mpaka itolewe, ile finance bill mpaka itolewe. Asipotoa hiyo finance bill tutarudi kwenye uwanja.
Atongoria na aikari kuma wadi ya Igwamiti kaunti-ini ya Laikipia ni moritie mung'ethaniro kuhe thirikari kanya ga kuruta na kuhingia ciraniro iria yeranire hindi ya kampeini mwaka muhituku. Na maya marumirire njikaniririo ya miario gatagati ka anyiti mbaru wa kiama kia UDA na kiama kia Jubilee aria mauma na mucemanio na utongoria mwena wa Nyahururu uria gutongoragio ni Njeri Kioni.
Atongoria amwe aria megiritanagia na kiama kia UDA odumwe na aikari kuma mwena wa Nyahururu guku ni kaunti-ini ya Laikipia ni morĩtie atongoria a mung'ethanĩro kuhe thirikari ya Kenya Kwanza mweke wa gutungata na guthondeka utonga wa bũrũri. Matongoretio ni MCA wa wodi ya Igwamiti niwe Irene Wacuka morĩtie mung'ethanĩro gukorwo makiũria ciĩgiĩ ciranĩro iria mutongoria wa bũrũri Daktari William Ruto akorirwo akĩrĩra Kenya hindi ya gĩthurano kĩnene kĩa mwaka muhituku.
Mimi ninataka kusema mbele ya serikali yangu ya UDA, mimi ni mtu wa UDA na nilichaguliwa na UDA na siwachili na hiyo maneno midomo ati uchumi. Unajua anakuja na mambo mengine ati aga mambo ya uchumi aga sijui nini. Uchumi tugoje mpaka next year. Na hakuna serikali inaweza simamishwa bila kukata kodi. Let me tell you. Tupiga makelele, tupiga duru, hakuna serikali itaendelea hata nchi saije bila kukata kodi. Kodi ndio ujenga barabara, kodi ndio ulete maji, kodi ndio ulete madawa katika hospitali. Kazi yao ni kuchoshea. Na wakati wanashoshea kama Kioni watu wake wote kutoka Daragwa wanakuja hospitali hapa Nyahururu. Na siwezi nikaambia mtu mgonjwa atitoka hapa juu wewe si wa Nyahururu. Hii hospitali ni wa kila mtu. Sisi wote tuko Kenya moja. Mimi nataka kusema hivi, mambo ya economy. Hata hakuna mama anaolewa leo na anapata mimba na kesho anazaa na anapeleka mtoto shule.
Amwe na uguo Wacuka augite thirikari ya mutongoria wa bũrũri ni yarĩire mitaratara ya guthondeka utonga wa bũrũri, akiuga utonga wa haraganire hindi ya ngeithi cia gĩcĩcĩng'a gatagati ka munene wa bũrũri Uhuru Muigai wa Kenyatta na mutongoria wa mung'ethanĩro Raila Odinga.
Tunaona deni zile zilikuwa zimewashiriwa na serikali iliyokuwa. Already Ruto ameanza kulipa. Kwa hivyo tunajua uchumi utakuwa by next year, by March to April, tutaanza kuona change. Already uga imeanguka. Sukari imeanguka, hata mafuta. So tuende pole pole. Tunajua hata yeye Ruto ununua vitu kama vile sisi tunanunua. Yule deputy wake Rigathi Gachagua au Rigiji hata yeye ananunua vitu vile tunanunua. Si kusema ati yao president na deputy wako na tofauti kununua vitu kwa duka au kwa soko, tunanunua pamoja.
Alitio ali mwena wa Nyahururu kuria kuratumukire ndugamano ya atongoria a UDA na kiama kia Jubilee thutha wa arumiriri a UDA kuhithukira mukawa-ini umwe kuria atongoria a Jubilee matongoretio ni Njeri Kioni manatafanagia mucemanio.
Na tumesema ya kwamba tunasimama kidete na serikali iliyopo. Tunaunga mkono serikali ya Mheshimiwa Rais ambaye amechaguliwa na watu, Pia tunaunga mkono Deputy President wetu Bwana Rigathi Gachagua, na pia tunasimama na uongozi wote ambao ulishaguliwa kutoka Laikipia County.
Ngiribotera GTN TV na ngekwendithiria mwaka mweru mwega ihurito ni irathimo ni njitagwo Mureithi wa Ichura.
Na ripoti yo kuma kaunti ya Laikipia igotuhe kanya twambe tukinye burikio ro hanini ndukae guthii haraya tugicokereria twina ripoti ngesha gukumenyithia.
GTN TV, the home of gifts and talents, presents you with an opportunity to advertise your businesses, death and funeral announcements, wedding and dowry ceremonies, announcements for government meetings and those of other registered groups or organizations, and many more at affordable prices. For more information, you can visit our offices at GCTC Complex, former Othaya Teachers College, or call us on 0742 606 195 or 0721 706 504 or 0768 411 708. You can also send us an email via sales@gtntv.co.ke. GTN TV, the home of gifts and talents.
Mama, ni wewe. Njitagwo Shifta wa Baria na ndoka gukwendithiria mambura ma thigũkũ ya Christmas maiyũire irathimo. Na njoke gwitira mugithi wa vuka mwaka na GTN haria Othaya Stage, Othaya Town. Mama, ni wewe. We.
Ukatuhihe ngogoyo ya wendoyo Tuiguage wega tugikunda ithueri Ukatuhihe ngogoyo ya wendoyo Tuiguage wega tugikunda ithueri.
Njeri National Polytechnic ni turanerera intake ya January 2024 hari arutwo aria marikitie kirathi gia form 4 kirathi gia kanana na andu aria mari na kothi no matire na certificate. Turi na kothi cia engineering, applied sciences, hospitality na tourism na ingi nyingi. Tuthomithagia tukihuthira curriculum iria njeru ya CBET na igeranio iheanagwo ni NNP hamwe na CDACC. Arutwo ni meguteithĩrĩrio kuhoya mbeca cia thukuru kuma kwa HELB kugerera mubango mweru wa thirikari wa HEF. Kwiyandĩkithia wikinyi wa wabici ya registrar kana ucerere www.thenyeripoly.ac.ke.
Gakunyita ogeni orege tuthie na mbere na mohoro maitu na tukimurika maria marahanikire mwaka uyu wa 2023 omuthe tukimurika ciege kigeranio gia gibũrũri gia KCPE. Mwaka uyu niguo kigeranio giki kirekirwo kiri kia mwisho gia kirathi gia kanana kiratabanirio thini wa mutaratara wa githomo wa 844. Kigeranio giki gikoretwo kuo kwa ihinda ria miaka 39 na kuinikiriria kwa mutaratara uyu gwa githomo ni kuraheire mweke ukinyaniria kinyi wa githomo gia CBC.
Mwandiki mukaru ministry-ini ya githomo Belio Kipsang augite ati arutwo aria makorirwo magikarira igeranio cio cia KCPE na KPSEA magakorwo makiamukira maumirira ma igeranio ciao mbere ya mambura ma kirithimathi kwambiriria.
We shall make sure that as much as we can, all our children who are able to sit for the exam will sit for the exam. Those who will not be able to sit for this KCPE, we shall be able to look at ways in which as government we shall assist these children to transit to the next level.
Kipsang nore kwaragia hende ya gutiriha mihango ya igeranio cia gibũrũri cia KCPE na KIPSEA niatũgĩrĩtie ũruti wĩra wa arĩa makuruhanĩtie harĩ kũgacĩrithia mihango ĩno, oho agĩtĩtĩrithia atĩ mihango ya kũmaka igeranio ici ĩkwambĩrĩria o rĩmwe nĩguo gũkinyanĩria kahinda karĩa gekĩrĩirwo harĩ gũtiriha mihango ĩno. Mwaka uyu makiria ma arutwo milioni 2.4 nio maikarĩire igeranio cio cia gĩbũrũri, aria maikarĩire igeranio cio cia KCPE marĩ milioni 1.4, gũkũ nao aria maikarĩire cia KIPSEA marĩ milioni 1.2. Kipsang oho niatĩtĩrithĩtie atĩ Ministry ya Gĩthomo nĩ gũtigĩrĩra atĩ gũtirĩ mũrutwo ona ũmwe ũgatigwo nja hĩndĩ ya kũrũga ngathĩ ĩyo ĩngĩ ya gĩthomo mwaka ũkĩte.
So between now and the time we release the results, we shall make sure that we shall have created mechanisms of supporting these children to transit.
Gikundi kiria gikorirwo gigitiriha igeranio cio cia KCPE mwaka uyu nikio kiambuthia mũtaratara-inĩ uyu wa hau kabere wa 844 niguo gutura mweke wa kurutithio wira biũ kwa mũtaratara mwerũ wa gĩthomo wa CBC thukuru-inĩ ciothe cia mũthingi guothe bũrũri-inĩ. Gutirihwo kwa mihango ya igeranio cia KCPE na KIPSEA kurahe mweke arutwo a kirathi gia fomu ya 4 guthie na mbere na igeranio cio cia KCSE iria igatirihwo tariki 23 mweri wa 11 mwaka uyu. Handũ-inĩ ha GTN TV, rĩtwa rĩakwa nĩ Snyder Shege.
Na rĩrĩa andĩki a mohoro marĩ wĩra-inĩ mahana ta gaturu hĩndĩ ya kana hĩndĩ ya mahanda, meharĩria maingĩ nĩmo mahanĩkaga kuma ũngania wa mohoro kũmaharĩrĩria na mũthia magagũkinyĩra. No macio magĩthiaga na mbere, rĩmwe andĩki a mohoro nĩ mekoraga rũrĩmĩ rũkĩritũha ona rũgateretha rĩrĩa maramatha mohoro maya nĩ managĩ ma mandĩki a mohoro aitũ.
Finya record twende.
Nĩ mwe kwa mwe.
Ndĩ sawa? Kuna kitu nachoma ndio?
Aliana wanogokire.
Ngai, tio. Ndiragira no tariki 19 mweri turorete wa kana. Rĩu report ĩgiĩ
Nĩcio nĩ imwe cia taranda iria tũgũkorwo tũkĩhĩmbĩria kwa GTN TV. Nĩ taranda iria tũgũkorwo tũkĩhĩmbĩria mwĩroreri, na taranda ĩyo nĩ ya bata mũno.
Oi, matũhũ mũrahaya. Gĩo retake tena.
Nĩ waigua nĩ akorwo agĩtĩtĩrithio na makĩria.
Hau ngwa njuga nĩ maheni.
Ndĩrũtohia. Marĩa mambĩrĩirie mũthenya wa wa 10 na RPG Works.
Kana ugo marauga. Ndio rugano rũu. Ndiye na uma ohoro hiyo. Azinaona ni Braisha.
Nini ili kudumisha usafi. Nikiripotia basi. No. Hii ndiyo taswira kamili.
Wewe. Usiwa.
Hizo tu ikiwa tu ni
nasikia gari inafanya naona kama haichukui
takriban miti
kinyitage nani o mwambĩrĩrio thaa 1:30 cia hwaĩ-inĩ ikũrehera kinyitanagire nani ona ti ũguo
gũkũ mbunge-inĩ ya kaunti ya Kĩrĩ.
nikiripotia
ole wĩrĩgĩrĩirwo wambĩrĩria
geithanie kandigane nao ishokata ikoona kat
sawa kat
handũ-inĩ hasaseni ya GTN
Victor Gathombe
gĩtonga wadwiri
mũnano wa makumi
Mwĩroreri macio no mamwe ma materetha maũndũ marĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩgerera tũngĩgakũharĩrĩria